Hitesh and Heidi, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm looking forward to a great conversation with all of you. Hitesh, I'd love to start with you because perhaps more than anyone inside our organization, you have the opportunity to interact with executives across the customers we serve. And as you reflect on those conversations, what are decision makers telling you today are the moments that matter the most?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Lee. And hi, everyone. It's amazing to be here, and it's awesome to see so many of you in this room today. And Lee, you're absolutely right. I do spend a lot of time speaking with leaders in our core verticals, whether it's financial services, healthcare, or insurance. And one of the things, Lee, is that I'm realizing is there seems to be a fundamental shift in the expectations of customers and employees on what the experiences they're getting from their customers, right? For customers, it's still very simple. What do they need? They need clarity, they need confidence, and they need assurance. They need assurance that companies that they interact with, they understand at the moment they're in, right? And delivering these experiences, it's getting increasingly difficult. And it's not just about keeping customers happy anymore. Leaders that I'm speaking with, they're increasingly worried about the employees that are responsible for delivering these experiences to their customers. Because think about it, the technology environment that some of these companies have, they are outdated, they're fragmented. And when you have an outdated and a fragmented environment, it adds friction. It adds friction to your employees, it adds friction to your customers. Because when you've got a fragmented environment, it slows down processes. It adds manual intervention. And we all know manual intervention is very frustrating. So leaders are really worried about their talent pools, right? So now you've got reputational risk, you've got compliance risk, but now you've also got employee retention risk. And so that's the conversation we're having is how do you create an environment that allows your employees to give those best experience in those moments that matter the most for their customers. If you look at the data, it really shows why this is becoming such an urgent issue right now, right? In our 2026 benchmark data study, 84% of customers, Lee, that's 84% of customers, said that communications is the most critical part of their experience with the company. That's 84%. But guess what? Only 54% of those that were surveyed said that they're happy with the experience that they're getting from the companies that they interact. That's a massive gap. And at the same time, the environment within these companies, they're getting increasingly more complex. You've got more data, you've got more systems, you've got more workflows, you've got more regulatory compliance requirements. Maintaining that, it's getting harder and harder. And one of the studies showed that IT is spending, 60 to 80% of their budget maintaining these systems. Now, these systems were built, 15 to 20 years ago? If you're spending 60 to 80% of your budget on maintaining the systems, what are you not doing? You're not innovating. You're not creating those new experiences for your customers. You're just spending a lot of time keeping the lights on for your legacy systems. And that's not productive. Another study that we were reading at from MIT and EY, they said, not only do you have risk, technical risk and compliance risk, but now you've got customer loss risk. You've got customer complaints risk that is increasing significantly. And that's the tension that leaders are dealing with right now. On top of that, board-level conversations are asking these leaders to layer on AI on environments that were not built for layering AI. They've got systems that's 20 years old, and they're not made to build AI on top of that. Just the other day, I was talking to a CIO, and he said, Hitesh, 2 years ago, I had a modernization plan that was 2 to 3 years ago, two to 3 years long. We had a clear plan on what we needed to do. That conversation has accelerated significantly. That board level priority is, when can you do this for me now? In fact, I was just having a conversation this morning with one of our executives, and they retired 5 systems in 4 months because that's the priority that their board was putting on them. That's the level of change that leaders are dealing with. And it's not just a technical risk anymore. It's a risk, as I said, customer attrition, because leaders are worried that they're not able to build systems to deliver those experiences. They're not able to deliver the capabilities that they need to deliver those experiences. And so that's where the tension lies. Let me just give you a quick story. I was speaking with one of our Farm Bureau customers the other day, and they're in the process of building a live service request form and a first notice of loss forms. Now, these are use cases, Lee, that we deal with every day. But if you step back for a second and think about what those use cases mean, these are moments of stress. These are moments of uncertainty. And so imagine for a second a farmer surveying their property after a devastating storm. They might be looking at hundreds, if not thousands, of vehicles, farm equipment, buildings. This is a moment of stress. They're overwhelmed with what's in front of them. They might not have all the information they need to finish the process. They might start the process on their mobile phone. They might need to go online and finish that process on a portal. They might need to speak to somebody live. And all of that needs to happen seamlessly. Because at the end of the day, this is not about collecting data. This is not about filling out forms. This is about creating a thoughtful experience for that customer to reduce anxiety, give clarity in those moments that matter the most. So leading back to your question, when I speak to these leaders, I think the one thing that's becoming very clear for me is communications is not about just delivering information anymore, right? It's about how do you coordinate between systems? How do you coordinate between multiple sources of data, workflows to create a seamless experience and a seamless interaction for your customers? And so this is where technology becomes really interesting, right? How do you orchestrate a thoughtful experience? How do you orchestrate an experience that's seamless, that adds clarity and confidence for your customers in those moments that matter most? So Heidi, welcome to your first Innovate. So Heidi, when you hear about these stories, what does that mean to you from a technology perspective on how technology needs to evolve to address these expectations?
Great question, Hitesh, and thank you all for being here. It's wonderful to see new faces and to start to build new relationships at this first Innovate. So the orchestration really is across data, products, individuals, and the workflows that surround them. And you know, the Farm Bureau, the farmer experience is a really good one, because what that farmer is experiencing at that moment is not necessarily the complexity of a myriad of systems, different data silos coming together as one, perhaps different agents who are providing different levels of information. They're seeing either a satisfactory experience or a disappointing one. And you know, we all know that our customer expectations are rising. Think about it. Like, what do you expect from Netflix? Fantastic personalized recommendations. What do you expect in terms of speed of delivery of information? Well, you want your Uber to arrive right on time, and you want to know exactly what route they're taking. Or you want your voice assistant to know exactly what your tone and inflection is and to escalate you to the right customer service agent when they hear that sound in the back of your throat, which indicates clear irritation. And so with these rising expectations, coupled with AI advances, it's fundamentally changing the rules of engagement around how we orchestrate these experiences. Now, think about the conversation about AI even 6 months ago, certainly 9 months ago. It was around efficiency and productivity. And there were various studies that said, we're not quite seeing it yet. Well, interestingly, fast forward, just even a couple of weeks ago, there was a new study that was conducted between Harvard Business School and INSEAD, which is a business school in France. And they took 515 companies. They gave them all the same AI tools, all the same numbers of tokens, and all the same amount of training. And they divided that group of 515 companies into two. And one, they said, go and figure out how you're changing the nature of work. AI must change what you do and how you operate. And for the other half, nothing. They didn't get that instruction. 10 weeks later, the group that was essentially asked to rethink their entire business workflow, their processes, saw 40% new use cases spring up. They saw 18% new customer adoption. This is in 10 weeks, and 2x revenue, with about 40% less of the capital expenditure that was required in order to achieve those results. That's pretty phenomenal. Now, the researchers called this, that one group solved a mapping problem, which is they figured out how to bring AI into workflow. It's not as easy for us in this room to have those kinds of results in that short period of time because of regulation and compliance and the obligations that we all have in this room to service our customers, but also to service our internal users and the regulators that govern us. And so, it's a much harder problem to solve. And that's really where we fit, which is in between trying to create this, to close this gap between the capability of what technology can do and the experiences that we know are required of you all and us too, and closing that gap with essentially our platform of products, of how we stitch them together, how we provide enabling foundational technology for you, how we make sure that we're the right partner of choice, that we're doing what you need us to do, that we're allowing for experimentation between your systems and our systems, between other vendors that you have and us. That's really where we sit, and that's very much how we're intending to go through our various product sessions with you for this week. Now, just because we have new technology doesn't mean that more is just more. Like, more needs to be better. The experience needs to be better for you internally in terms of how you work with us. It needs to be better in terms of how your users are using the technology that we're helping to provide to you. It's also about the new experiences that we can help you create with your customers. And that requires not only a great team, but it requires vision and strategy and leadership. And we think that that's a really important topic to discuss. And Lee, I'd love your views on that in terms of how you see the role of leadership and being able to support the pace of change, but also to make sure that we're staying within the guardrails that we all have to work within.
Yeah, it's an important question because leadership in this space is growing increasingly complex, and I would say increasingly consequential. If you think about the industries we've been discussing just as part of this conversation, financial services, insurance, healthcare, the interactions that organizations inside these industries are supporting often carry real weight and real risk. And so the decisions that executives are making today about technology can no longer simply be operational decisions. The decisions today are trust-based decisions, they're partnership decisions, they're long-term investment decisions. And I was reminded of the responsibility that executives are carrying when I spoke to the CEO of a large insurer recently, who shared with me what her organization is seeing happening across the population she serves, which is a growing mental health crisis. A recognition that people today are carrying more stress, more complexity, more uncertainty in their lives well before they ever interact with her insurance organization. And what she said specifically was, our role has never been simply to process claims or policies. Our job is to meet these people in those moments with clarity, with care, and with empathy. And to do that, we need to be ready. And that means ready with the right technology, that means ready with the right processes, that means ready to deliver experiences that don't create friction in an already friction-filled moment. Because for any one of us in the room today, the reality is, when an individual interacts with our organization, they're not arriving as a blank slate. They're arriving carrying everything else that's already happening in their lives. And I think that really captures the responsibility that leaders today are navigating. We're hearing this from you even as recently as this morning. Customer experience technologies are no longer a departmental decision. They are board-level conversations. Legacy systems now carry board-level risk. And Heidi, to your point, AI absolutely sits at the center of everything, and that was clear in conversations with many of you this morning as well. Just last week, the CEO of Amazon, Andy Jassy, issued a letter to shareholders where he shared his conviction around AI, saying specifically that he believes AI will reinvent virtually every process we know today. Leaders are calling this a once-in-a-generation technology shift, very similar to the advent of the internet. The real difference with this moment is speed. Right? We've never seen technology adopted at the rate of AI. When ChatGPT went live in September 2022, it attracted 100 million users in 2 months. That was 4 times faster than TikTok. That was 15 times faster than Instagram. And if we zoom out to go a little bit further back, Amazon CEO drew a parallel to Thomas Edison and the second industrial revolution, reminding us that when Edison opened his first commercial power plant back in 1882, people immediately recognized an opportunity to better light up their rooms. What they failed to recognize was that eventually electricity would fundamentally reorganize every industry and every home on Earth. And AI has comparable potential. And again, the difference here is speed. Because whereas electricity took about 40 years to get to where it was going, AI appears to be moving about 10 times faster. And that means that the decision timelines that executives have is being compressed considerably. And that's difficult when you're making strategic decisions that play a foundational role in your ability to succeed over the years to come. When you think about the decisions that executives like you are making every day, decisions around technology, around AI, around architecture, around partnership, those decisions today will have a foundational impact on the experiences that your organization can deliver to customers for years to come. And so the natural question that executives are asking right now is, so what do I do? Right? How do I get started? How can I be moved from where I am to where I need to go? And in just a couple of minutes, we will address that question directly. Heidi will remain on stage for our next session, which is geared toward partnering with you to help you be moved, to help you think about where you are today and how we can help you continue moving down the right path. That might be around migrating legacy systems. That might be around unifying customer experiences around channels. That might be around leveraging AI or using data in fundamentally different ways. But you'll hear from Heidi about this, and you'll hear much more about it over the course of the next several days. I would tell you the other piece that's especially important from a strategic perspective to decision makers today is this partnership piece. Because you think about conversations like this, partnership has never been more important, right? You need a partner who truly understands the environment that you're operating in. You need a partner who understands the operational and the regulatory realities that sit behind every interaction you are seeking to power. And you need a partner who's building not simply for today, but for where the market is moving. And of course, at Smart Communications, we take that kind of partnership exceptionally seriously. And I would say that brings us back to the theme of this year's Innovate, Be Moved. Because the work that you do moves people forward, and the decisions that you make about how to invest, how to innovate, who to partner with, those decisions shape how those experiences unfold. Those decisions shape trust, they shape connection, they shape what's possible for the future. That will be our focus this week in Chicago. Because what we have in this room is a set of executives who are jointly focused on improving the experiences that your organization can deliver to your people in the moments that matter most. And every one of us has a pivotal role to play in that work. Some of us are shaping the strategy. Others are building and implementing the technology that underpins those conversations and those interactions. And others are thinking daily about how we can build those end-to-end experiences and ensure we are delivering them seamlessly and consistently to every customer we serve. We have stories for all of you, and we hope that you will listen to these stories around how to unify experiences across channels, how to simplify complex operations, how to leverage AI right now in ways that are responsible and thoughtful and practical and driving real value for the enterprise. I hope you'll walk away from this event with a few specific ideas that move your organization forward. I will share with you that this is my 10th year of having the opportunity to be a part of Innovate, and it is one of my favorite weeks of the year. I leave here each year wildly energized and inspired by the work that we are leading together, by the impact that we are having, and by the opportunity that sits in front of us. And a big piece of that energy comes from the recognition that what I learn certainly happens on stage, but it happens at every turn and in every corner of this event, whether it is in roundtables, breakouts, at the smart bars, in hallway conversations. The reality is the challenge and the opportunity that we are facing is not one that we face alone, nor is the solution one that we develop alone. We develop this by sharing our stories, by building powerful, innovative opportunities together, and by partnering for success. And so this week, I'll close by saying that I hope you're moved by the stories that you'll hear. And I hope you're moved by the innovation that you'll see. Last, I hope you're moved by the opportunity that emerges when technology and leadership and partnership come together, because when they do, we're not simply moving organizations forward. We are moving forward the people who depend on us in the moments that matter the most. So thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for the innovation that you power with us. And thank you for being here. And with that, I'll say on behalf of all three of us, welcome again to Innovate.